But I want to talk about the Madden 20 cover athlete. So it's a little early. We're a little bit early to be talking Madden cover athlete, but it's never too late or never too early for some speculation, right? Now, I wrote an article about this on Forbes already, so I kind of breached the subject a bit, but I want to get a little bit more into it here. We're moving closer, obviously, to the release of the game. The official release date I don't even think has been announced. I know it will be in August as usual. Last year's cover athlete featured Antonio Brown on the current cover, and then of course there was a Hall of Fame edition with Terrell Owens, and then there was a lot of stuff involved with that because Terrell didn't go to the Hall of Fame ceremony, and then got a little crazy. I don't think we'll have to worry about that moving forward with a lot of people. Terrell's a different kind of guy, of course, great wide receiver, but a little bit different when it comes to certain things. So I am expecting EA to do a similar thing with a Hall of Fame edition and then a regular edition. You remember they had Tom Brady on the GOAT edition, which was something like a Hall of Fame edition, I believe the year before that, on Madden 18. So let's talk about candidates for that Madden 20 cover. Now, first, let me say this. There's a trend that's been going on with Madden over the past, 10 years, I would say. And if EA follows that trend again, I think that we might be seeing a defensive player on the cover this year. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. So ever since 2004, when Baltimore Ravens Ray Lewis was on the cover of Madden 05, a defensive player has been on the cover every 5 years. Now, I know we get a little bit crazy sometimes with some of this Madden stuff and people talking about curses and all that, and I'll get a little bit into that in a second. But after Lewis, the next time we saw a defensive player on the cover was in 2009 when Pittsburgh Steelers Troy Polamalu shared the cover with the Arizona Cardinals Larry Fitzgerald on Madden 10. That was a real sucky version of Madden in my personal opinion, but whatever. After that, we didn't see another defensive player until, you got it, 2014, when the Seattle Seahawks' Richard Sherman was on the cover of Madden 15. Now, if you look at it that way, we're about at a point where it seems like it should be time for another defensive player to be on the cover. Now, if that is the case, I got two, I think, strong picks to be on the cover, right? So one of them is my dog from my Chicago Bears, Khalil Mack. I mean, shouldn't have to tell you about Khalil Mack's impact last year with the Chicago Bears. Bears had the best defense in the NFL, and Khalil Mack was a major part of that. He started basically from week one against the Green Bay Packers, which was a really painful loss. We let him come back and win. But Mack was dominant that game, and he really was dominant throughout most of the season. It was the funny thing of it was even when he wasn't getting sacks, which he had 12 and a half in the season, even when he wasn't getting sacks, it was just his presence on the field. It made everybody on the whole entire defense better. So I think he proved himself. Now, the other guy, which, if you want to be honest, he had an even better year than Mack. Two-time Associated Press Defensive Player of the Year, Los Angeles Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald. He's the best defensive tackle in the game. Many people will tell you he is the best defensive player, period, in the NFL, and I could not argue with that. And he plays for the Los Angeles Rams, so obviously one of the biggest media markets out there. If he is the guy, even though I would love to see Khalil Mack on the cover, because do you realize there's never been a Chicago Bears player on the cover? Never. Never. Chicago Bears is one of the most storied franchises in NFL history, and we've never had a player on the cover. So that's one reason I'm kind of wanting Mack to be there. And people talking about curses and all that. Well, what's been wrong with the Bears? It can't be too much more cursed than we already been. So let's go. And of course, the only Rams player to ever be on the cover was Marshall Faulk. I can't remember which version that was. It was back some years. He was on the cover. He was an absolute cheat code, right? So say, for instance, they don't do that. The whole defensive thing is some crap. That is not real. Nothing you can even ever talk about. It's just not going to happen, right? Say that's the case. Then the other options are pretty obvious, in my opinion. Now we're talking about Kansas City Chiefs Patrick Mahomes. Now, I said this on Twitter. I put this out when I wrote my article originally, and I put it out there. Man, Chiefs fans almost to a person said, no way, we don't want Pat Mahomes on any Madden cover. They really, truly, obviously believe in this curse thing. The stupidest thing ever, right? But they believe in it. And they don't want Pat Mahomes on the cover. They're just waiting for something bad to happen to their team. So it's kind of crazy to me. But yeah, that's what they're on. All right, so now if it's not, I mean, clearly we know Patrick Mahomes led the league in passing yardage, threw for 50 touchdown passes. And see, it's not just that he put up these numbers, right? That's not what makes him Madden cover worthy. What makes Mahomes Madden cover worthy is that he's cool. I mean, just think about it. I mean, he got mad. He's got the it factor. He's got swag. He's got the whole nine. He's like the rookie point guard, even though he wasn't a rookie, second year play. He's like the rookie point guard that comes into the NBA and he's dunking on guys. He's crossing people over, breaking their ankles. He's like the football equivalent to that, right? So he's got that cool factor that's going to make young people want to come play, watch the game because Patrick Mahomes does cool stuff on the field. And I don't think you could think of a better person to be a cover athlete than somebody who has that kind of magnetism going on about him, and that's what he is. Now, another option, which I think is the only other real option out of the current players, is New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley. He had a great season, great rookie season for the Giants last year. Rushed for over 1,000 yards. What did he catch? Like some crazy, like 90 passes. It was ridiculous. Maybe it wasn't 90, but he caught a lot of passes last year. Showed himself to be a complete back. I think you can already make the argument he's the best running back in the NFL. Obviously, you're going to get people talking about Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott. Some people still even probably believe in Le'Veon Bell, even though he sat out an entire season. But I think Saquon Barkley is in that conversation. And I think coming up here on his second season, he might be ready to just burst out and kind of put some separation between even him and those guys. So I clearly think that he could be a cover athlete as well. I think it's going to be really interesting. Now, if you think about the Hall of Fame edition, though, right? Last year, Terrell Owens was the name, right, of the guy, of the people who went in. He was the name. You know, there's always got to be a, like a signature inductee or something like that that's going in for every class. And generally, if you're EA, that's the person you're going to want to kind of target or get a radar on and say, we might want this guy to be on our Hall of Fame edition. I don't know if somebody like that's really in this particular class. You got Ed Reed, who was one of the greatest safeties of his era. Champ Bailey, one of the best shutdown corners. But those guys are kind of there, yeah. Then, of course, you have Chiefs tight end. Not just a Chiefs tight end, Chiefs Falcons tight end. You got one of the greatest, probably the greatest pass catching tight end in the history of the game in Tony Gonzalez. Mr. Modelo Light, you know what I mean, with the Modelo Light commercials. If you were to look at this and say, they could go all in with the Chiefs, right? And they could say Patrick Mahomes is going to be our traditional cover athlete and Tony Gonzalez is going to be on the cover of our Hall of Fame edition. They could do that. They really could do that. Or they might even do something with Gronk, because Gronk is retired and obviously Gronk's going into the Hall of Fame. So I don't know which way they go. But for me, I think that if it was me and I was choosing the cover, I'd put Mahomes on the cover. I know Chiefs fans are going to hate that, but that's what I would choose. I would choose put Mahomes on the cover. He's dynamic. He's outstanding. Just probably the most marketable player in the NFL right now. I think he's the guy that you put on. I know people are talking about curses, but here's the weird thing about the curse thing. And I'm going to move on because I think it's pretty stupid. We're going to still talk about Madden because I got another thing I want to talk about. But how is it that the curse takes years off? Right? Calvin Johnson lit up the world after he was on the cover. It's just all kinds of just garbage that's going on. I mean, Antonio Brown got traded, but I mean, he didn't have a bad season necessarily. And he wanted out. But I mean, so what is the definition? That's always been my question. What's the definition of the curse, right? How do you define a person who has been negatively impacted by the curse? How do you define somebody who avoided the curse? How do you do it? I think people make it up as they go along and they come up with this garbage and they keep it going on and on and on and on each year after year. It's some trash. if it was really some type, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's one of them things that people always talk about, that every time they do it, it does my skin like this, like somebody's pinching me. Stop saying that stupid crap. There's no Madden curse. Okay? There isn't. It's difficult to sustain success in the NFL. It's difficult to stay healthy in the NFL. That's because the game is physical. It has nothing to do with being on the cover of a video game. So that's all I'm going to say about that. What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik, the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and I am the sports and video game journalist. And this is Mazik Speaks.
Pocket, I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.